Lisa called in, or emailed in, I should say, and asked, how do you frame compensation discussions when an employee is not receiving an increase? Ooh, this is tough. Don't you wish you could just be like, I'll be honest, you don't deserve a raise this year. But in all seriousness, obviously we can't say that. So what are your thoughts, Luce? How do you deal with this?
It's that's a tough one. We do get this one a lot, and I know we say that a lot, that we get this one a lot. But this is why we're doing these questions and helping people with the answers to them, because every manager has to do compensation conversations, and it's really hard to know how to word them. And it's really hard to get the balance right between kind of being the friend but then being the manager. And then that it's going to be disappointing, and nobody likes to disappoint other people off the bat. It's it's lovely when you have a compensation conversation where the news is great and you can say they have a raise, but when they don't, it's tough. So I would say, especially when the news is tough and you've got to navigate a person who's not getting a raise, by all means, start with a few pleasantries, but essentially the core message about their comp needs to be the very first thing you say. It's a little bit like a firing conversation when obviously you're not firing them, but like it really has to be the first thing that's on the agenda. They're sitting there, they're on the edge of their seat, they're waiting to hear the number. So don't prolong the agony, right? The main thing here is to stick to the facts and lay out the comp clearly. Something like, I know that compensation is a significant topic, and I appreciate us having this time to discuss it today. You won't have an increase in your base salary in this cycle, and I'm sorry about that. However, there have been a couple of adjustments to your benefits that I'll talk you through, and your equity package didn't change. So you're just completely factual about it. And now you then need to talk about the rationale behind the decision. And this you want to make sure that you've prepared ahead of time so that you have your talking points bulleted out and you can go through those. And again, those may be very factual as well. Then you want to stop talking and let them react. And if they have questions you don't know the answer to, do not try and come up with something on the spot. Tell them that you'll get back to them with an answer in a reasonable time frame. Now, if they're upset, which I'm sure has happened to a lot of you who are listening to this, if they're upset, empathy really is going to be your friend. Be empathetic. I am sorry this wasn't the decision that you were hoping for, as I know you've put a lot of effort in this cycle. I can see that you're frustrated, and I imagine that you have more questions for me. So listen actively, avoid being defensive, own the conversation, and allow them to vent if they need to. That's okay. You're there to hold the space. Allow them to vent if they need to, and really emphasize that you're there to support them. And then just lastly, I would just say, set expectations with them about when they're going to receive the confirmation letter and any other sort of follow-ups that you agree to.
Nice. Yeah. I think, no one wants to deliver that message. And a lot of us probably in this market for many companies are going to have to deliver that message. Yeah, I think you're right. Like getting to it straight away and just sticking to the facts. Like the more factual you can make it, and then lead with the empathy and the emotion, I think is like, the right arc.
Yeah.
But it's not fun.
Well, onwards to question 2, which we have in from Alan. He asked, do you have performance conversations, so performance reviews, and the compensation discussion at the same time and bolted in there? Or is it best to separate them out and then be 2 completely separate conversations?
Yeah,
Liz,
great question. Yeah. As we know, the fact is humans just have a really hard time processing feedback.
Yeah.
So we got to make it easier. So ideally, the order of operations, I should say, is performance cycle ends. So you separate the 2, bottom line. It's like you have your performance cycle, it ends, and then your compensation cycle begins. But if your company combines them, even if that is the case, I really suggest not wrapping them into literally the same conversation.
Yeah.
You can have your performance review, and then 2 weeks later or 1 week later, you're going to be like, okay, and then we're going to follow up and we're going to talk about comp. And the reason for this is that during that review and that performance review conversation, you really want your direct reports focus to be on their behavior, the impact, the ways in which you want them to develop, really having that, curious conversation, giving that feedback. If you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, these are all the topics dealing with more of the upper bits. As soon as you bring in compensation into part of that agenda, that brings the base of the pyramid into the picture. Their psychological safety, their social needs, and just the reality is from, sitting in these or giving these yourself, right? The reality is if you are lumping it all together, they are waiting till the end, and all they end up sort of often caring about or thinking about is what is the number. And it really dilutes the feedback conversation and the performance review. So I would say just really like even a week or even a couple days, but you really got to separate the two and have them have their own genuine focus and agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to suggest separating the two. I think that's right. It's like nobody wants to be thinking about whether they can afford the new car or the holiday they wanted to go on, or whatever it is, at the same time as being able to think about their own performance and where they want to grow in the next year, or taking the feedback that may have been tough to hear. So I think that sounds great.
I always remember I don't know why, but back when I worked for big companies, it was like back in the day, so pre-remote work. And remember we'd always get like a sticky note. It's like you'd be in your performance review and then like they'd hand you the sticky note with like the number, you know what I mean? Written down. And so I always remember being like, I wonder what the sticky note's going to say. So anyway.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I know. So bottom line is separate the sticky note from the performance review conversation. And yeah.
Well, that's one way.
Also, the other thing too is, sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say, well, that's one way of having the tough conversation around performance, around comp rather, is to stick it on a sticky note and pass it over the table. Napkin, just.
Right. Oh, yeah, I know, right?